Here we go, stocks by the numbers, and we had another stock actually was up very early pre-market. People were talking about at 4 or 5 a.m. pre-market trading. Stock actually popped up to above 3, but we can see today closed down about 9.5%. Let's find out what happened. Microbot Medical, MBOT here on the NASDAQ, right? This stock we were talking about the whole time. We were tightening back here at around $1, and usually we saw that anytime the stock did see a pump, they did a small offering, because we know that right now they're basically just kind of keeping their head above water, but the cash burn really isn't too crazy. I believe we're talking about just a couple of mil, and in my opinion, I think the word is out, and I think traders are now starting to jump in. They saw the break up here when the stock jumped up to $2, so now this is on everyone's radar, and probably every time there's a dip, they're stepping in and they're buying. Stock staying above $2 a share, but let me show you what I was talking about. Here, look at this. So pre-market, stock shoots up, hits, what is that? 324, gets above resistance trend line. And then here, we get news of the offering. Obviously, stock drops all the way down to 201 and then bounces and rallies about 15% from that level. So it looks like, I'd say, in my opinion, sub 2 obviously would be a phenomenal fill. But even with this close here, again, we're talking $60, $70 million market cap. Right? So we know, hypothetically, if we get one or two good announcements, or if we just keep seeing volume come in and we get above this resistance trend line, you and I both know what can happen to the price of the stock, which is why yours truly remained bullish on it from $1. Again, originally brought to you at $1. Let's get into the news, though. Micro Medical to sell 13 million. That's honestly not too much, right? You see the difference, though? You see the difference? Even if we go back to before the pump, I mean, Microbot was what, like a $30 million company, right? And you can see they're looking to offer about 13 million, right? So about a third, even if you want to say whatever, 40, 50%. I understand that it's a chunk in proportion to where they came from. However, again, not to bring up the other stock that's trending that everyone's pumped about, the robotics RR that we looked at just the other day. Again, that stock went from what, 50 million to 300 million, and then they offered 200 million worth, right? So that's why I looked at it that way, because before the pump now, they just offered like 4x what their entire company was worth before the pump. Microbot Medical, technically, yeah, it's still a big chunk of where they came from, but we're talking, what, 30, 40% of what the company was worth before the pump. You understand? So that's why I'm actually glad this happened right after the RR news, because, again, in my opinion, this is why it kind of showcases to me that Microbot should drop less and remain more steady when compared to RR. But again, it's just my opinion, and I understand we're in the tech age, the robot age. So again, everyone, any stock that's doing space, any stock that's doing robots, you guys are buying like crazy. And listen, I understand, because I get it. It's the FOMO, but at the end of the day, I just hope that no one gets locked in at too high of a price. But plans to sell about 6.1 million shares at $2.13 a piece, right? So that's why the stock went down to $2 in registered direct offering, and 12.2 million shares at the same price in a concurrent private placement. Offerings are expected to close by Tuesday, which is tomorrow, right? Yeah. Gross proceeds from these offerings are estimated at about 13 million. Plan to use net proceeds to advance its Liberty robotics system, explore new applications based on its intellectual properties, and support working capital and general corporate needs. And we were speaking about the potential of the FDA approval. We also spoke about acceptance, annual meeting, late-breaking abstract that will be presented at the upcoming Society of Interventional Radiology annual meeting being held in Nashville, Tennessee, March 9th to April 2nd. The data from the company's Access PVI trial, a prospective multicenter single-arm trial evaluating the performance and safety of Liberty in patients undergoing peripheral vascular interventions, will be presented for the first time at a podium presentation. So this is why, again, I was speculating that it could be a good year for MBOT. And we're seeing that, again, we're having these meetings, we're doing these showcases, and hopefully soon we'll get the FDA approval. And that's why, again, you could potentially see the writing on the wall that if we do start to get some of these catalysts, some of these headlines begin to hit the tape, then in my opinion, MBOT's going to be off to the races. Quote, we believe the acceptance of this late-breaking news is critically important and allows the principal investigators to present the data for the first time at the SIR annual meeting, especially since the primary attendees at this conference are potential users of Liberty. In addition, we believe that the potential benefits of Liberty will be meaningful and significant to the audience. Right? Pre-commercial stage med tech company. So again, we're still talking about a speculative situation, right? It's a very small cap stock, but I think we do see potential here. And again, you have someone like H.C. Wainwright here coming out. And technically, again, we didn't get any big news to impact the bottom line of Microbot Medical business. Yet H.C. Wainwright just came out, raised their price target from 7 to 9. That's why I'm saying I think a lot of analysts could see the writing on the wall. And again, this was an under the radar stock that I feel like nobody was talking about. And then again, I have to take some credit because I feel like I was talking about it. Maybe some other people looked at it. But then when the ball dropped, again, we began to climb up going right into the new year and began to break up and out. And here, everyone started talking about it, which is why, again, I like to say these quiet stocks, even if they continuously consolidate and drop down in value, depending on what the situation is, you can view it as an opportunity to accumulate shares and build a position, get in before it breaks up and out, before everyone's talking about it, and then you're going to make even more in the long run, in my eyes, right? Just like we saw with SoundHound, perfect example. But MBOT here, technically still above this resistance trend line here, coming down from the tops of December 27th, it looks like 21. To those tops there, May 23rd, 23, that was cutting down across, and you can see the stock popped up above that, slightly retested, and came down right to it, double bottom right there at the fib, and then had the nice bounce. So it seems like we're kind of doing this, and we're making these higher lows. So we may tighten a little bit, but it looks like we might want to get back up to around $3 a share. And if we look pre-market again, you can see the stock was up here at about 3.25. Look at that, went right up to that trend line and held it for quite some time before starting to pull back. And then, of course, we got the news. But if we back up, look at that trend line that it was above. Going back from the highs December of 2019 to those highs December 23rd, 21, cutting across second level resistance, which the stock popped up to immediately a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago. But you can see we popped there, pre-market. So this is why I'm saying, again, I do think the word is out, and I think you're going to slowly start to see this break up. And before you know it, you may be looking at, again, 580, 6, 8. Because even if we take it up to 11, I mean, we're talking 5x from here. $330 million market cap isn't too crazy for a company that's going to bring a frickin' surgical robotic arm to market to, do cardiovascular surgery controlled by a frickin' Game Gear. So I think there's a lot of potential here. I do think there's a lot of potential here. Let's look at stock charts real quick. I'll let you go. But just wanted to do a quick update on that offering. In my opinion, I really don't think it's an issue. I think as the word is out now and as the stock is climbing, again, they're going to raise whatever couple of millions they can just to keep their head above water, because I feel like they know that, again, after the meetings and the presentations and the price target upgrades and potential FDA approval, I think it's going to be just on the up and up. Top Bollinger Band 238 on the daily. Stock almost looked like it formed a bull hammer, but no. And we can see that we technically closed below that top Bollinger Band, but even if we come back and test this mid-Bollinger Band here, $1.93, that's why I'm saying low twos, sub 2, in my opinion, I still think it's a good buy. If we do have a retracement all the way back here to the 50-day of around 1.5 here in the bottom Bollinger Band, 149, I would still like it. But the MACD did technically just cross to the upside a couple of days ago. So that's why even if it sells off on this news, we may come down and test and then bounce and not necessarily cross to the downside. Because I just think that there's too much hype now behind the stock. And I think a lot of people are watching it and buying those dips. RSI on the daily, 61.25, right? We just topped out and we were going to continue to climb up. But then we got this offering news. So we bring it back down to earth a little bit. RSI on the weekly, 66.5. Again, we were potentially slightly overextended, pulling back a little bit, but you can see that we're on the up and up. Top Bollinger Band, 245. So again, we might have a bounce right back to 245 and head right back to 3. If it did immediately pop up again above that trend line at about 3.25, it may want to just run right back to this 200-day moving average here of about 353. So that could potentially be the next stop, believe it or not. But we'll see what happens. MACD on the weekly, obviously flying high. Pivot points, I'll let you go. Okay, 177, we have good support we bounced off of, and it looks like we stopped right at 272. And this is the previous pivot point for last year. You can see is essentially right where the stock is, maybe a couple of cents higher, 234, 235. And stock hit almost 232 and pulled back. So we have to see tomorrow if it wants to reject off that line and drop back to the low twos, or if it wants to get back above this previous point, and then we kind of potentially know, quote unquote, that we might get back to a 272 pivot point, which we recently looks like we touched and pulled back a little bit. On the daily, yeah, here 211 as well, and you can see that's where it stopped before it took the next leg higher. So that's why I'm saying we have to wait and see if we want to reject off that previous point and come back down here to the low twos, potentially high ones, or if we break right through it and we just go up $260, $270, $3. So only time will tell. Again, if you're a trader, you have to take it day by day. If you're a long-term investor, obviously back here, this is all good news. And, you know, in my eyes, it really doesn't matter. The company did an offering. Again, in my opinion, in the long scheme of things, it's not an issue. And hopefully in the next couple of months, we continue to get positive updates and some positive data, some positive reactions maybe from this presentation. And MBOT continues to go on the up and up. But in my opinion, I like it. And again, conservatively, even if we say $10 a share, 4x from here, you know, we're talking only about $250 million market cap, which again isn't too crazy, especially since a lot of these other startup companies and up-and-coming stocks we looked at that are operating at heavier losses, you know, we're over here pumping them back up to $700-800 million market cap, $2.5, $5 billion market cap. So to say something like MBOT could go from 2 to 10, I really don't think we're fishing for the moon in the lake. I think we're being very realistic. But that's pretty much it. I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comment section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they are very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.